recording this, so just so you know, we are recording, so.
Yeah, so I'll try not to swear. Which is a big try. No, I'm just kidding. Sometimes I do swear when I sew, but especially if I ripped it and then put it back in the same way and sewn it again. Yeah, that's a good swearing moment. All right, are we good to go?
We'll go.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about this again in case everybody wasn't here.
And this is week 3.
This is week 3 of, what is
The
this?
ultimate travel bag.
The ultimate travel bag. Good thing Margie's here. You'd think I'd know that by now. But on the ends of your zippers, there's tabs on both ends. Now the one we've cut into a 10-inch piece and a 20-inch piece. So we already have it sewn at one end. But I always go in and sew, or I did on these because they have ends on them. I go in and sew, an 1/8 of an inch from it and stop it. And then I'll go back and I want to cut that off. And I cut it off right by the stop. And that way I don't have to worry about hitting that metal with my sewing machine, because there's nothing a sewing machine hates worse than hitting metal. And there's nothing a needle hates worse. So
Hold that up a little closer to this.
so then my ends will both look like this. I mean, they're not pretty, but they don't show, so I don't care. Okay, so I'm going to show you what we're going to do today. Today, we're going to work on the straps, and we're going to put the hardware on. We're going to put the hardware on, the long strap. We're going to put the slider on. I didn't have a gold slider when I did this, so it got a black one, and it doesn't matter. And we're going to make this strap the padded, and we're going to add this hardware to these short straps. So that's kind of our first thing. Well, first of all, let's make this zipper tab. Now, if you're going to put zipper pulls of some other kind on, like, I don't know, something snazzy or fancy, and you're not going to make these, that's fine too. These are the ones for my other bag. I cut them apart. She has you make it all one length and then cut them apart to put on your bag. But I wanted my ends to be finished. I mean, I really don't want that raveling. So what I did was I took my 1-inch by 42-inch piece and I cut it into 12-inch pieces. So let's cut that into 12-inch pieces. You shouldn't have to really ruler it because it's only an inch. And you need 3 of them. If you keep that in mind, you only need 3 of them. So you're going to have a little extra. And if you want them longer, you can just cut it into thirds. This piece right here is 10 inches finished. And I think that's probably pretty long enough for a zipper pull. You don't want it to where it's going to catch on everything as you're using your bag. So that's why I didn't make it any longer. Okay. Oh, let me go through what we're going to do today. Okay. So, and then I'll get the stuff off of here. So we're going to work on these. And then we're just going to put them aside. And we're going to make that inside pocket. And you can make it in fabric or mesh. And it's just, and we are going to finish this seam, or I just zigzagged it, because that's the one place in Rachel's bag that was raveling already from her putting clothes in and out and in and out. So I'll show you how we're going to finish that. So we're going to make that pocket, and we're going to make it out of mesh and cotton. So you can see how to do it both ways. We're going to make this pocket, which is the front pocket. It has a zipper pocket. And then it's going to also have, it's also going to be a slip pocket. We're going to make the back pocket with the sleeve. And these are the 2 side pockets. So that's our goal today. Let me get all this crap from.
I have a question.
Sure.
If if we want to do material for the inside instead of the mesh, how much extra material do we need?
Um,
And do we need to quilt it?
no, no.
Okay.
Now you can put, if you want some interfacing in there to make that pocket a little stiffer, you can do that. But you don't have to. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's basically up to you. But you need 2 pieces, I think it was 12 by 19 and 2 pieces 3 by 19 for that pocket. So you should have on the coordinating fabric, you should have had 12 inches left because we did a 1.5 yards. It took a 1.25 yards, but they had extra on the end. So there should be that 12 inches there, I would think.
Okay, so we can change if we want, if we don't like, I'm not a big fan of the
Oh.
mesh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and if you want to put something totally in there as a coordinating. Also, I don't think we cut the fleece last week. We needed to cut 2 1.5 by 9s and 1 1.5 by 9.5, and then press them onto those pocket A and B borders and pocket D borders piece. So if you haven't done that, we need to do that. But we'll get started on these, and then where did I do with the other ones? Oh, and then we'll we can go back. So these I just make just like if I was going to make a tie. I mean, I press the ends because I want a finish end. I mean, I don't want it raveling because that's going to look tacky. So I just press the ends in 1/4 inch. And then I'm going to fold it in half and press it.
Should bring it up and show you in the camera.
It's not showing.
No, you're very
much?
edge of your. There you go.
Yeah, I just press it in half. And then I go to the next one because I don't like burning my fingers by working with it when it's hot. So I'll go to the next one. Whoops, I didn't get that pressed in half very good. This is Margie's shop iron. It's probably not my fave, but it'll work. And again, I'm going to press the end. And I'm going to press the other end. And then I'm going to press these in half. I'm going to do all 3 of them at the same time. So. All right, come on, baby. And I'll just set him aside too. And we'll do this last one. But I just didn't, when I read her directions and she said to do it all, and then later on, you're going to cut your zipper pulls. I thought, man, I don't want unfinished ends. I mean, I guess you could stick something on them like a cap or something, but that's going to be bulky. So to me, this just made more sense to do it this way. All right, so go back. Now we're going to press towards the middle. And it gets really hot. Because this isn't very wide. I mean, it's an inch wide. And you can always use a, oh, what do you call it? Bias tape maker thingy majiggy. That would probably make it easier.
A lot of Tula's bags use ribbon for her. pull.
Yeah, you can use ribbon for your pulls. On Rachel's bag, I just got some metal zipper pull thingies that said like believe and dream and things like that. And then we're just going to go back and press it in half. And I just slowly press, and then it's going to pretty much hold. It'll hold long enough to sew it anyway. My machine really doesn't like to sew these little itty bitty things, but it'll do it. Okay, so we'll throw that one up there. Pretty soon we're going to be done with all the tedious stuff, and then it's all going to go together like Flynn. It's going to be great. But I kind of like that she gets all this tedious stuff done ahead of time. And then when you go to put it together, instead of like doing everything that goes on the front and then everything that goes on the back, because then when you go to put it together, it just flies. Oops. Man, that gets hot. I know, and there's those finger thingies you can wear. I don't know. That would make it too simple, I guess. I know one thing, I don't know what your weather's like in your part of the woods, but we have a beautiful day going on for a change. Except that it's windy, but it's always windy in Nebraska. That's kind of the signature here. And again, we'll just fold it in half, press really slow as you do this, and then it'll partway hold. And if you want, you can pin it. We may just stick a few pins in it just to hold it before we sew it. And I told Margie, both of my bags have black for the coordinating fabric, and that drove me nuts yesterday sewing black on black all day. Almost changed my colors. Okay, so here's the last one. And like I said, if you're not going to use zipper pulls, then you can skip this step. And if it doesn't bother you, if it's scraggly at the end, maybe you want it scraggly at the end. And I shouldn't say scraggly. Maybe you want it so that it frays a little at the end. You can always do it the way she says and do the whole thing at once. Well, that was great. I lost my press. Yeah, that's why I don't like to do them back to back. All right. And then we're going to just run a quick stitch through them. You don't need 2 stitches. We're just catching this edge. So can we still see over here? Yes. I'm going to stick a few pins in it just because it'll just flow so much easier. I'm going to get rid of some of these scraggles. Especially through the end. You don't have to put very many pins in. Just kind of keeps it together. All right, I'm going to start on that end, so I really don't need anything on. And I'm just going to Oh, my machine will do it. You know, why don't we do this? Okay, get that off of there. I don't want that on there. Oops, too close to the end.
Unable to see you, so
What? You can't see it?
no, we can't.
Okay, let's go up a little more. How about now? Can you see over here? What?
No, a little bit more.
Okay,
Thank you.
you betcha. All right, so now we're just gonna sew this line. And I just ran a quick stitch down. Stitching both sides. Guess I don't need all my feet hanging around. Let's go off this side. All right, so that's all it is. It's just a little string-a-jig. So I think we'll just move on because that's something that you can do, but that's how they're sewn together.
Make sure they understand.
Do you understand what I'm doing here? Everybody got it?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So let me set those aside. Okay, so now we're going to start in with our hardware. So we're going to take our longest strap and we're going to, what we're going to do is we're going to take our slider, which is your rectangle. And you can see it has a little bit of a ridge, not much, but just a little bit of a ridge. So what we're going to do is I'm going to try and get this iron out of here so I don't end up burning my arm. Okay, so I want the good side of my, so I can see here, I have a seam on this side. So that's the side I want down. So that's the side I want down when I come up into here. And I'm going to go down. Okay. Let me see what I want to do here. Gosh darn it, no. Why is that not making sense to me? Oh, because, okay, so we're going to put the slider on right here. And then we're going to put one of these on this end. Hooky-majiggy. And slide that on up. And then I think you take them, let me.
Which direction do we put the slider on?
It really won't matter because it swivels.
Oh. Swivels, okay.
Yeah, that's the great thing about the slider is it swivels. And then we're going to take it up through this as well, up where we did our others. And back down.
So do we have raw ends on each end? Are we?
Not
are
on
they-
this one. This one should have been finished. But if it's not, you can finish it right now. You can
Okay.
fold it under and finish it right now. So pull it through enough that you have a little space. Well, I guess we don't want a whole lot of space, because what we're going to do is we're going to sew this to this. So let me show you again. This is what it should look like. They're both threaded through. And what you can do is thread it through. No, because you got to put that slider. You got to put that in. So you put one in, put this thing on. Here, I'll do it one more time. Man. Okay, so we're going to put the slider on first so that it's a little bit curved towards the back. You want to do it towards the back of your fabric. That's where my seam is. That's the back. Then we're going to put this thing on, the hooker, the hook.
Swivel hook.
Sorry, the swivel hook. Oh, boy.
The
I think
hooker
I've-
thing or
I think I've worked at the jail too long.
Yeah.
And then we're going to tuck it up in there underneath.
the-
Tuck that,
Strap.
that end of the strap up underneath
on the bottom.
on the bottom and bring it back down so that both of them are in there. So that's what it looks like right now. Both of them are in there. And we can,
Might want to take that up a little higher.
okay, so both of them are in there. And our swivel hook is on this end here. All right. Give yourself a little bit of room here. And what we're going to do is we're going to attach this piece. And what we're going to do is we're going to sew a square. And then we're going to come, once we get to the top of the square, we're going to go down here diagonally, back across the bottom, up diagonally, and back across the top, so that we have a X in the middle of a square. So, and you just kind of have to maneuver around your buckle. We may need a little more. And you have plenty of strap, so maneuver it until you can sew. It doesn't have to be a square, it's a rectangle, but maneuver it so you can sew easily. Can we see under here? Yes, okay. So I'm just going to start here. I'm going to sew across. I always like to keep my needle down. Then I'm going to come down, and I'm not going to come down very far, maybe 3/4 of an inch. Okay. I'm going to turn mine clear around because I don't want all this strap over there. Oh, I got to pick it up just a little. And I'm going to sew across the top. Okay. Now I'm going to sew across the top. And this is probably the hardest place because you've got your buckle there. It's so, whoa. I didn't like that. Okay, let's go back here. So try and get everything out of the way. Okay, so we're going to sew across the top. We're going to sew back down to the bottom. Well, why doesn't this want to turn for me? Okay, so back down to the bottom. Now I'm going to sew diagonal up to the top. Oops. Okay, I'm going to sew across the top again. And that gives your top and your bottom a little extra strength. Well, let me get my pens out of here. It gives your top and your bottom extra strength too, because you're sewing across them twice. All right, now we're going to sew diagonal back down and then across the bottom again. Oops. One stitch too far. And then back across the bottom. Okay, so then I've got that caught. So I can change my length. So as you can see, I've sewn a, oh man, it's so, I should never have done black. I'm so very sorry. But it's just a square around the outside, triangle, back across the bottom, triangle, and then back across the top. And then of course, trim your threads as you go. Okay. Did everybody get that? Otherwise, I can try it on the other corner too. I mean, I can show you on the other half until we get there.
So Bobby, when you're sewing that, you're sewing through 2 layers of the strapping, correct?
You are. And you're sewing towards the back.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so you're sewing wrong sides together.
How far up did you go on your strap? Or can you,
I have about, let me look here. Oh, you mean,
does that
I have
slide?
about, there's about 2¼ inches there.
Okay, does that slide all the way back down to the swivel hook then?
It sure could. See, it can go all, well, this is the side that slides.
Okay.
So yeah, it could go all the way down. Well, it's gonna have a problem with that last 2 inches.
Right,
But
but,
It
okay,
can go, it can go all the way up, it can go all the way down. All that you're doing is catching that slider so that
Okay.
it doesn't come off of the piece. But yeah,
and
it'll slide as long as you want to make it down to about 2 inches, 2 inches short. So it'll go clear down to here with that
Okay.
slider hook.
And
Or
is
it can go,
I think
Pardon?
I think I got it. Is your other end finished?
no, not yet.
Okay.
We're gonna do it next.
Okay.
All righty. So you want to see how we do that again? I have another slider. Oh, somewhere. No, I thought I did. I thought I had a slider. Do you have any extra sliders here that aren't open?
I'm good
I mean,
on the
there are-
slider.
Oh, here it is. Here. So I have another one that I can show you on the other end. Because I thought about using this one, then Margie had a black one. So what you do is you're going to put your slider on first. Whoops. That was the back of my fabric. This is one I had at home and it doesn't have much of a curve to it. Annie's has a really nice curve to it. What's the matter?
I'm just gonna take it down a little.
Oh, okay. How do I shut this off? Just turn it. Okay. Just don't burn your arm. Okay, so I'm going to slide this on.
That's
With-
one thing, see a little bit of that.
Can you see better that way? So I'm going to slide this
Yeah.
on.
Yes, thank you.
This is the back of my fabric. Okay, I'm going to, well, wait a minute, let's put it on right. Oh, no, I wasn't. Okay, so I'm going to slide this piece on. And right now it's just sliding on its own. Then I have to put this on before I hook that up in. Whoops. Let's do it the right way. So then the slider will go on facing up. I guess it really wouldn't matter in the end. But let's pull this down a little bit, get it up, get that slider out of our way. Then we're tucking this up under there. And we're going to come back down with it. And then I would get a lot more room in there. This slider doesn't slide as good as the Diane sliders, that's for sure. Get a lot more room in there so you have room to work. And then what you're doing is you're just sewing this piece down to hook it in the slider so that the slider is hooked in there and this piece is not flopping. So then you're just sewing your rectangle right here.
Use your,
Oh yeah, I can use my chocolate liner. So then, I love this thing. I told Margie I'd never really had one and I've tried to use the pins and I've tried to use, oh, that big thingy that marks. Nothing works as good as this thing. Well, let me get it started though first. Okay, so then you're gonna sew across the top. You're gonna sew down. You're gonna sew across the bottom. You're gonna sew up. Then you're gonna sew a diagonal. Then you're gonna sew back across the bottom, a diagonal up, and back across the top. That way you've sewn the top and the bottom twice. And you've got this diagonal the diagonal's just for looks. I mean, let's be honest.
just a little higher.
Yeah. So it's top, or you sew a square. When you get back here, you go down diagonally across the bottom, and then you go up diagonally and then across the top. And it doesn't matter. It can be this wide. It can be this wide. It doesn't matter. Whatever works for you to sew. But like I said, you've got a ton of strap here. You can always pull it out to here and sew it. The thing of it is, you're just going to leave that much lip, but it's not going to matter because this is 58 inches long. It is huge. Let me show you on this one. See, this is 58. It's long. I mean, even for a shoulder bag, and if you stretched it out all the way, that might be where my black one went, Margie. She thought she'd given me one. But if you stretch it out all the way, it is really long. So you're not gonna run out of. And as you can see, I've got it sewn here. Unfortunately, you can't see because I sewed it in black. I always have threads everywhere too. But yeah, all right. So everybody catch that? All right.
Yeah.
All right, let's move along. So we have this done on this end with the one swivel hook. The next swivel hook is so much easier. Let me get rid of this slider. Sure don't need two sliders in this bag.
You're gonna work on the same one. You want me to do it? Or you gonna-
I'm working on the same deal.
You have to do it.
Okay, so let's get the slider off. All right, so again, I want to find the top. And I find that by finding my seam on the bottom. And now I'm just going to thread in my hook. And I'm just going to sew that on the same way. But I want it to face, I want the wrong sides together. And then I'm just going to sew the same kind of square on this. And again, give yourself plenty of room. You don't want to hit that metal. So give yourself plenty of room. And we're just going to sew a square on there. If I can find my flip feet. Oh, let's go for a little bit. I'm just going to sew my square.
So my
Okay.
end, that end isn't finished. Do I need to finish that end?
Yeah, and you can finish it right now. You
Okay.
can tuck it under as you sew that square. So
Okay.
it'll be just fine. All right, and then we're going to come across. And we're going to go back up. Well, first I'm gonna take this thread off.
You may need to move the camera over a little. They can't see this, but there we go.
And then we're gonna come back up. And now I'm gonna sew my diagonals. So I'm gonna come down diagonally. I'm gonna go across the bottom again. I'm gonna go up diagonally. And I'm gonna go across the top again. All right, and then that strap is, oops. So now this strap is complete. We've got hooks at both ends. We've got,
The shoulder pad doesn't go on it,
yes, we have to make the shoulder pad, Margie.
but it's not complete then.
Oh, the strap is complete.
Oh.
Margie's back street quarterbacking me here, so. These are the 13 inches. We're not gonna, no, that's what we're gonna mess with today. I thought we finished one of those ends on the 13 inch. Well, I thought we did, but, so now we're gonna hook the triangles on. So we're gonna go to your 13 inch piece. See, and I've got one here that it's not finished either, so dang it. I thought I finished, oh no, this end is finished. So this is just pretty easy. You just are gonna hook that on like this. I don't see that there's any right and wrong side on it. As a matter of fact, it's got the same doodad on both sides. So it's up to you. It doesn't look to me like there's a right and a wrong, but I would just do them both the same, although I don't see much difference in them. And we're just gonna sew that same square onto here. But like I said, give yourself a little space because you have space to do this. And we're just gonna sew those squares. Or those, yeah. We're just gonna come across. We're gonna go down. We're gonna come back across. We're gonna go up. And then diagonally. Then back across the bottom. By the time you sew all these squares, you'll be really good at it. And back across the top to the top, diagonally, and then across the top. And then this strap is ready to just put aside. All right. See, this strap is all ready to go. All right, so we'll do the same thing with the other one. If I can find my other triangle. Oh, there it is. See, I just don't see any difference in them. I don't know. You don't sweat the small stuff. That's what I figured. But I do want them about the same length. So I'll take this one and I'll somewhat match it up. That way, when I go to put them on, they're going to be the same height on each end. These are what go into the end pocket. So I need to go a little bit more. So I do kind of want them to match a little bit. And now I'm just going to sew one more square. Oops, that wanted to swivel a little on me, so we'll swivel it back. All right, now I'm going to sew diagonally. Then across the bottom. Let me get this little thread out of here. And I really like this method too, because you extra strengthen that top and that bottom, which is probably going to receive the most abuse. Whoops. A little
So
high.
the instructions say to use the raw edge of each tab. Do we use the raw end or the?
Well, I don't think that she told you to even finish the ends. I think that was just me.
Okay,
I just like the end finished. Yeah, she doesn't finish that end. But
okay, but the other end isn't finished too, right?
right, but it's
Okay.
going to tuck in the bottom. It's going to
Oh.
be in a seam.
Okay,
This raw end, it's going to be in a seam.
Okay.
Just like our handles. Our handles are both going to be in the seam. That's why we didn't do anything with the ends of them. Yeah, messed. So those are both going to be in. All right, now this one's done. All right, so we have both of those done. And we just set them aside because we're going to put them on the ends when we get to the ends. And we have our handles, but we don't have to do anything with them today either. So we'll just set all that aside. But now you should have 3 pieces that are called carrying strap. Okay, there should be 2 long ones. And there should be 1 short one. All right. And the short ones, there should be a little piece down here that say carrying strap binding. So we're going to grab that. And I'm going to do mine a little different. I want all flowers. I don't want any feathers on the back, so I'm going to leave that like that. But right now, all we're doing is we're binding this. So we're sewing this binding to the back, and then we're just going to bring it forward. And like I said, if you want a pin, it's up to you. But we're just going to sew 1/4 of an inch. So if you want to use your 1/4 inch foot, that's fine. I just know it's in the middle of my open foot. And then we'll just bring it around. And we're going to sew it down. And we're going to do that to both ends of this. We're going to bind both ends. I'm going to use my stylus so I can make sure I get everything covered. Get it in there. Let's get over just. Okay. And I guess it really doesn't matter. You shouldn't have to sew forwards and backwards because we're going to sew both of these ends into a seam. Okay. So then I have this end bound. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the other end. I'm going to sew the binding like this. And it's such a short piece. I'm not gonna pin it. Mainly because I always forget to put pins in their pin holder. And then Margie gets mad at me.
Because she drips them.
She walks around barefoot, even in the middle of winter. So she hits all my pins. Okay, so now we're just gonna finish that end. Oh, did I do that right? Oh, yeah. Well, I've been known to have to rip. I'm probably one of the world's best rippers. That's probably what'll be on my gravestone. She was ripping on her last day. Okay, so I want to get that over just a little. And if you don't have a stylus, you can always use your scissors. But it's really nice to have something that pulls that across and holds it, something sharp. And it'll keep it where you want it to be until you can sew it.
Let your fingers.
If you're like me and you keep losing your stylus, you have to punt some days. All right, so now we have this piece done. So what I'm going to do is,
I have one question. What was the seam? I'm sorry, this is it 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch?
1/4 inch,
Okay, thank you.
1/4 inch, and then you just bring it around. Yep. All right. So what she's wanting you to do is curve these edges. I tend to grab a bottle or something like this. It doesn't matter what you use. If you have these babies, they work really good too. Oh, I don't know where I put them. Oh, they're there. I bought these at a quilt show one time. They're pretty awesome. I didn't even remember I had them. The thing of it is, they're never the right size. I mean, like this one's too little, or this one's too big, and this one's too little. So what I do is, I'll look around for a bottle that'll work. And see this best press?
Need to come over a little more.
More?
There you go.
This best press is about as good as it's gonna get. And I'll take my Choco liner.
Pull it towards you a little so that they can see both corners.
Now,
Yeah, now take your hand off. Let's see. Yeah, that's-
what do I do with that Choco liner? Oh, here it is. And then I'll just draw a circle. Or, I mean, you can always just cut too. And the great thing about this chalk is it just brushes away eventually. Okay,
Bring it up so they can see that.
well, let me draw better. We didn't get it on very good. We weren't right in the even. Okay, so now I've got this circle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut both ends at the same time, because then I know my ends will match. Maybe they're not a perfect circle. Maybe they're not, you know,
Curved edge. They're really not a circle.
right. Maybe they're not a perfect curved edge. Or actually, what I'm going to do is cut this side off, because I really like the curve on this side. Okay, then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to bring it over here halfway, and I'm going to cut this curved edge. All right, see, I kind of like that. And I do need to cut off the little tippy. Okay. All right, so then I'm going to bring it down here and I'm going to cut the bottom with the top so that everything matches. Now we're not doing it on that short one. The short one we've already bound. It's good to go. Okay. And your binding will is always a good hider too. All right, and we'll cut the other end.
So you find one curve you like the best.
Right. And work with it. That's what I do. All right. So now I've got this. What did I do with my other piece? I know, I lose everything. All right, so then I have to decide which direction I want this to go. So this looks like up. That one doesn't matter. And this looks like up. So what I'm going to do is that should be right about in the corners of that curve. And it'll be fine. I mean, it'll work. And I am going to stick a couple of pins in here because I'm going to sew down the edge. Well, maybe instead of pins, I'm going to clip it. Sometimes there's just too much for pins. So it's better to just clip. And see, I need to take a little bit off of here. And maybe a little bit off of here. I'm going to clip that side too. Now I don't remember that she said to do this, but I'm going to sew all the way around it. And then when I bind it, I don't have to worry about it slipping. Well, come on. Okay. Then I don't have to worry about it slipping and sliding as I'm binding. And remember, instead of hooking all the strips together, we saved one out. And if you didn't, that's fine too. We'll just use the end of it. But now I'm gonna start on the edge and I'm just gonna sew all the way around it at about 1/8 of an inch because that won't show. And I'm gonna increase my stitch length to like 3 because all I'm doing is binding. Oh. Or all I'm doing is catching. And that's just, so now I've got this nice thing seamed on the edge. Whoops, if I get up here and count this. So that when I put my binding on, it's not slipping and sliding on me and I don't have to worry about it at all. And it was just a simple step. Oh, so you go off the edge. And as you can see, now it's going to be a whole lot easier to bind. So we're going to take that one binding strip that we had. And first of all, we're going to go through and just pin it every 2 or 3 inches. We can get rid of our bottom.
Let's get this question.
And the reason that we just pin it is, Bianni says that if you don't press this seam, it'll give better. She doesn't press her binding seam, but she does pin it every so often so that you make sure that it stays together. We're also going to, on this, and this will be the hardest one that we do. We're going to match it up and sew it together so that it's a continuous seam. We're not, so the seam won't show when we get done. I like her method. I mean, it's not hers. I've seen a lot of people do it, but it works really nice. I don't think it's any longer than this, but we might as well finish
Getting
this out.
outside of the camera.
Might as well finish this out. And this is just so your binding doesn't slip and slide on you. Okay. So in order to do that, we want to leave a tail on this, probably about this long, and we're going to start right at this seam. And we're going to start sewing right there. Oops, but we're going to start on the back side. Duh. Okay, so we're going to start on the back side and we're going to start right about that seam. And we're going to sew our binding on. And we're just going to make it give as we go, or give around the corners. And it's bias binding, so there shouldn't be any problem with that. But I am going to change feet. I'm going to put my 1/4 inch foot on so that I get a 1/4 inch. Oh. One more time. Wow, jeepers. Okay. Well, why won't you go on? Okay. All right. So again, I want to start right about where that seam is, right down here, because that'll give me plenty of room to do this, but I want to pull this down a little bit. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to start right about where that is, and I'm just going to sew a 1/4 inch seam around the outside. I'm going to use my stylus, or use your scissors or whatever, just to keep it out there and keep it flowing. All right. Okay, we're just gonna sew it on. Once you get through the curves, the straightaway, it's awesome. Just like racing a car, I suppose. Oh, shoot. I'm gonna have to go back because I forgot to shorten my stitch length. And I sure want this tighter than 3.5. So there we go. Which is no problem because we'll just sew right over the top of what we just did. Okay. Now I shouldn't have to back up though because I got enough stitches. So let's just keep maneuvering this, pull it a little tight. Ouch, want to make sure. That's why you use the stylus, and I still get my fingers caught.
I'm sorry.
Oh, me too, buddy. And we're almost to the straightaway. Yay. I watched her beautiful bindings YouTube video the other night at work. It was really fascinating. She really is, she really knows what she's doing. It was a great video. What?
You put that new binding video out too.
That's what I said.
Oh,
Her beautiful bindings video on YouTube. Okay, so when we get around here, we're gonna stop right about here. Because we want to, we want to match these up. But we don't want to do it on a curve, so we're going to get rid of the curve first. And that should work. Okay, first I'm going to go back and make sure that my binding's going to fit around.
I'm not sure what it looked like before you did that.
Oh yeah, so it was hanging like this. I want to make sure that I caught everywhere and that my binding's going to fit all the way around because I have 3 big pieces here.
This is why that wider binding works better, isn't it?
Well, the wider binding works better on the when you put the bag together because you have so much for the bag.
Oh, okay.
But I want to make sure it's going to cover my stitch on the back, and it is. All righty. So now, where's the best place for me to lay out?
Is everybody okay?
Is everybody okay with that part? So now I'm going to show you how to make a continuous binding here. Oops, flip that back up. All right. So I want to take my pins out because I don't want to get confused. Oops, that's not going to work because I went too far. So what I'm going to have to do is take a 1/2 inch off of this. Now I better do it with a ruler. I don't know where I put my ruler.
That's all.
I got to have room to work, so I'm going to take a 1/2 inch off of this. And that'll give me plenty of room to work. Okay, so what you do is you're going to come along here. First of all, I'm going to lay this piece down, and I might even stick a pin in it over here, out of the way. And then I'm just going to get it out of the way. And then I'm going to lay this piece down, and I'm going to take a pin and I'm going to mark right where that corner is on the top piece and go through it about 3 times so that that pin doesn't fall out. Okay, so that's where that top corner is. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to mark where that bottom corner is on the bottom piece. And what I can do is get rid of that pin because I don't want to be confused. Okay, so let's get rid of this. And
Show 'em again what you did.
let me mark this really quick because it's stuck in there. And I want to mark this on the bottom piece.
The bottom of the binding piece.
Yeah, on this 1/2 of the binding. Okay, so let me lay this all out and I'll show you again what I did. Oops, and boy, that's crooked, so I don't want that all crooked because that'll mess me up. Maybe my pin's just crooked. Okay, so what I've done is you can hang this over a little bit and then take this top flappy thing, lay it down and put a pin where this bottom piece is,
On the top part of your binding.
on the top
Layer.
layer of your binding. And then put a pin where this bottom piece is on the bottom of your binding. And I've got to move over just a little bit. And what I'll do is I'll stick it in a little bit and then I'll come back and line it up. Okay, but you know that if I would cut it right there, that there wouldn't be, I mean, I wouldn't have anything to sew. I wouldn't have a 1/4 of an inch at each end. So you have to lay this out. It's really hard on these little pieces. But we're going to, I need a little ruler. Well, we'll make this one work. Now I lost my bottom one. Let's go back. Okay. Sorry. Well, you dirty dog. And I may have to go up and take a little bit of my stitching out in order to do this, because I don't have much play at that end. So I'm just going to pop a few stitches. Just going to pop a few stitches here just to give me a little more play. Okay, that should have helped a lot. Okay, so now I'm going to lay this down as flat as I can get it. And I know I need a 1/2 inch. Oh,
Is that not? I think it happened.
yeah, but
Too small?
no, it's the plastic. That's all right. It's good. It's good. So if I were going to cut it right there, then I would be, I wouldn't have any sewing edge. So what I want to do is I want to cut it a 1/2 inch the other way from that point up there on that piece to this point down here on this piece. But I want to back it up 1/8 of an inch. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting 3/8 of an, can you see that? I'm cutting 3/8 of an inch from this pin top and from this pin top. And I'm going to whack it off there. And I hope I don't hit my other pin. I ruin more blades by hitting pins. Okay. Okay. Now that should go together perfect. If the world is perfect, this should go together perfect. And what you do is you're just going to bend this. And if you need to, stick a pin in it. It's going to stretch back out. Ah, doesn't do any good to do that, does it? Okay, let's do it that way. Okay, so then we're going to line these up. And we're going to do it wrong. No, this is right. We're going to line these up just like we would when we were putting our binding together. And here I would put in several pins because you don't have much room to work. So as you go across here, put in 4 pins. The nice thing about it is if you sew it right the first time, you don't have to rip it and sew it again. So sometimes it's worth it to pin. Pretty soon we'll be on the pockets. They're easy compared to this. Okay.
Show that up. Oh, wait, wait, show.
And then, so see, you've got your overhang of 1/4 of an inch on this side. You've got your overhang of 1/4 of an inch on this side, and we're just gonna maneuver it and sew it. And the best thing to do is just sew it slow so that it'll stay perfect like this. Like I said, you just maneuver it and sew it slow.
Can't hear you. I'm not able to hear you.
She's muted, isn't she?
She
It
must
looks
be,
like
because
she is.
I'm not hearing anything either.
Oh,
It looks like she's muted.
yeah.
Yes, I got it. Now you're gonna have to,
Now?
can you hear me now?
Yes, you've been muted since you finished sewing. We didn't hear anything since you took it off the sewing machine.
Oh, okay. So what you'll have is you'll have this seam across here and just go through and finger press it. You know, that's just press it with your thumbnail. And then you're going to have this nice continuous seam around this whole thing. So now we just need to sew on that piece. I didn't get far enough away from the edge on mine, so I'm going to go around it one more time. And I'm going to use my open toe foot if I can find it. Yeah. And you'll know if you didn't get far enough away from the edge because you'll have extra binding. But that's an easy fix. It's when you don't have enough binding to finish or, you know, to go around. That's when it's harder. Okay, so I'm gonna get up in here. All right. Are we still lined up okay with the camera?
Well, you need to pull it over just a little. There you go.
Okay. So now we're just gonna sew this last piece on. And like I said, this is really a great whoa, binding tool. I really like this. I like the finished look of it, but it's really difficult on something this small. But see, now when I pull this forward, you can't tell where we started and where we ended, really. Oh, threads. So we'll just pull this all around. And now we're just going to finish the binding. And there again, I use my stiletto, but you can use scissors, you can use whatever you want. And I always start on the long, on the long pull. Man, I've got a frog in my throat. Okay, so. All right. Whoops, put your foot down. Please. Another thread. Oops, there's more threads. Oh, my hand is cramping. Okay, does anybody have any questions so far on this piece? We're good? No, we're just gonna. All righty, so it's finished on both sides. So it's all finished on both sides, and all you have to do is find the back and slide that in. And there's your strap. So now this strap is good to go. All righty.
Big accomplishment.
Again, if you have any questions of what we've done, either holler now or when we get, I got a mess going on here. When we get to the end, if you want to text message me. But let's start on some pockets. All right. The pockets go fast. They're really fun. There isn't a whole lot to them, but it's nice because when we have them done, then when we go to put our bag together, it's ready to go. So, oops, I'm going to need an iron. Okay, so we are going to start with pockets A and B, I think. Yeah, we'll start with pockets A and B. Okay, so A and B, there should be. That's D. That's B. This is A and B. So this is set B, but we want pockets A and B. Okay, so we'll pop those out. And you want to look on your fabric and see if there's an up and a down. Mine kind of does. I guess I wouldn't want the flower going down, but I'm not sure it would make a whole lot of difference. But you have a choice, or you can put the other side on. You know, you can put the other side on. These are the side pockets. That's what we're making now. So what we want to do is we want to take our rulers and we're going to mark 1 inch from the top. I don't care what you mark with. I mean, if you have luck with those pens, I just don't have a lot of luck with them. I've tried them. I've tried all colors. Those ones that iron off.
Oh,
Friction pens.
Friction pens, yeah. I don't have as much luck with that as I do just drawing a line with this, and this wears off. So we're going to draw a line on both of them at 1 inch at the top. 1 inch from the top. Okay, did everybody put your fusible fleece on your pieces? Because we're going to need those now. Where did I put mine? Oh, there. No, that's not them. Let's get this out of here. Where did I put mine? What a mess. Did they fall on the floor? Oh, yeah, they did. Yeah, if all else fails, look on the floor. Okay, so now we're gonna, what?
there,
Now I'm gonna move it this way a little bit then, because we're gonna
there
be,
you go.
so now we're gonna take, this is the border, pocket borders for A and B. And it should have fusible fleece on the back. The reason that we did that was it gives it a little puff. This is the border. So we're gonna line this up at that line. And it sure doesn't hurt to stick a couple pins in it. And we're going to do it with both, so we might as well pin them both. But you just pin it on that line. The line's never going to show, so I guess you could use any kind of pin because it's going to flip up from that. It's going to flip up anyway. So you can use a Sharpie if you want. I don't care because it's not going to ever show.
If they have white fabric, probably not.
Oh, yeah. It's still not going to show. It's going to be covered with a double layer. Okay, so I'm going to put my 1/4 inch foot back on.
Are you doing pockets A and B? Is that what you said?
That's correct. Set
Okay.
B, pockets A and B.
Okay,
Yeah, they should have been hooked together.
yes.
And we draw a line 1 inch from the top. Now we're going to sew a scant 1/4 inch seam. You're better off if you have a little, I mean, so it's just barely a 1/4 inch seam.
I need to move over. The camera, over.
Move my machine over.
Move the camera.
Okay.
A little more. There we go.
Okay, so I just moved my, I'm just going to sew it just a little bit off that line. Should be pulling my pins. I sure don't want to run into anyone.
Do we sew it on that line, that 1 inch line?
No, that's where you line up your piece of border. You line it up going down from there. See, there's the line right there. And then you line up your piece there, and I'll show you what we're going to do with it. So then once we sew that, we're gonna flip it up. And it should match up with the top. If you sewed a scant 1/4 inch seam, it should, and you can press this or you can finger press it or whatever you want. But the reason that I like that fleece in there is it gave it a little dimension. Whereas if you're just putting fabric stabilizer on it, it's going to be flat. So now it's got a little bit of dimension to it. I don't know. So let's sew this one. This is again a scant 1/4 inch.
God bless you.
I think I'm allergic to Margie. I pick on Margie a lot. Margie was my one sister. There's 6 of us. She's the oldest by far. And and she would never fight. I mean, you could try to pick a fight with Margie and she won't fight. She's probably the nicest person I ever have met because she doesn't like to fight. Drove me nuts. Everybody should fight once in a while. So then I'm going to stick a couple pins in here and we're going to sew this 1/8 of an inch from that bottom and set that seam. But see how nice if you sewed a scant 1/4 of an inch, it's gonna be really nice across there. Oh man, I got threads. So then I'm just gonna sew like 1/8 of an inch just to catch that, or you can sew a 1/4 of an inch. You can sew whatever you want, but it's just catching that a little bit. Kind of making it look a little more professional.
You should top.
Yeah, you top stitch it. You top stitch the bottom. I know that sounds weird. All right. So see how nice that looks? All right.
Pull it up a little so they can see how nice.
See, it's got a little bit of dimension to it. So it's going to look good because this is our side pocket and it's going to kind of bunch like this. So it just gives it a little dimension. So now let's
Gives it a little more
repeat.
structure that doesn't wear out.
Well, that's true too. It will, although we're going to bind it now anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and pin this one. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to top stitch the bottom. Sounds weird, but it works. And I know you can't see. I will never ever again teach this class with black coordinating fabric. But I'm just about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom. And that also keeps from wearing on that seam down there.
Is this another place they'd use wider ribbon?
Oh, I guess you could. I mean, you could use wider ribbon.
For
She
sure.
doesn't really talk about ribbon.
Well,
but yeah.
Tula's the one that uses the ribbon.
Oh, yeah. You could use ribbon here. I would still put something on it to give it a little dimension. Okay, so now we have our pockets like this. So we're going to look up here and we're going to find A and B bindings. And we're going to pop the deal out of there. And if you're saving your tabs, save your tabs. If not, not. Okay, so now we're going to put this, we're going to start our binding on the back like always. And we're going to bring it to the front. And again, I might just pin this on. This is 9.5 inches. I want to be sure it's not going to totally slip out on me. Plus it'll hold that front up if I pin it a little bit so that it doesn't slip out on me either. It shouldn't, now that we've set that top stitch, it shouldn't slip out on you. Oops. And we'll do one here at the end. And if it's not clear to the very end, don't sweat the small stuff. We're going to put the straps over that anyway. So there's so much forgiveness in this bag, which is good. Okay, so that binding's ready to go. Now let me get the other one on. Yeah, she says that your binding lays so much better if you don't press it. I've always pressed my binding in half and gone with it. I don't know. But I learned a long time ago that every class you go to, you're going to learn something and they're going to tell you something different. And you just have to do it the way you like. So sometimes I try the way they like. And if it doesn't work, just like the handles, I agree with you. I've always done them that way. Okay, so now
you took the pins out of the front.
I
and
took
put
the
them
pins
over
out of the front and put them in the back. And as I did that, it kept my front up top. It should lay there anyway, now that I've top sewn it, but it just holds it a little better. Now I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam and bring it around to the front and bind it. I never sew over pins either. My machine doesn't like that either. And my machine's starting to grind enough that I kind of baby it. Whoa, Nelly. See, sometimes it has to tell me what it thinks. And then we'll just bring that over to the front. And again, I may put a couple pins in it just to pull it. But see, I'm going to have to pull it with my stiletto to get it where I really want it. And that's going to be pockets A and B. So let's get that clear over. Must have sewn little healthy seams. But the stiletto will really help that. And like I said, you can use anything sharp. I did try a ice pick, but they're wider. It didn't work as well as like sharp scissors or a stiletto. But it's really nice to pull that over and put it right where you want it, because it's hard to hold it in place as far as you want it. And the stiletto will bring it right over there. Okay, too far. And if you use it, you won't sew through your finger as much. And I've done that too. Yeah, so word to me, I'm going to sew that one a little scant, because this one was tight. One thing Annie says is she really likes her bindings tight because she thinks they hold better. I don't know. All right, so this pocket's ready to go. And I may trim off this end so it doesn't look so ratty, but it's not going to matter. It's all going to be covered. So there's pocket A or B. I don't know which. All right, so we're going to do the same thing with this one. All right. All right, so now all we have to do is bring this forward, or bring it around, and we're ready to top stitch. The reason that we can use non-bias is that we don't have any, we don't need any give to it. We're just sewing tops on pockets, we're sewing across. If we would need any give, like around a circle or so, then it's always good to use the bias. But when you're just sewing straight across, a person doesn't need all that bias, or you don't need bias tape. All right. And if you can still find your deal, here's pockets A and B. So you can always put that back in it. You're going to know it because when we pull them, you're going to know, ooh, that's not a great pen. I don't really want it to snag my fabric. All right, so pockets A and B are done. All right, so let's move on to something more fun. All right, let's move on to pocket C and the trolley sleeve. Pocket C. Pocket C is probably your biggest piece of pocket. Okay, and your trolley sleeve is going to go right on top of it. So we'll pull those pins. And you'll know these once you get them done. Okay, so what we're going to do is let's bind the trolley sleeve first. So let's find the trolley sleeve binding. Side strip binding. Pocket D and E binding. Pocket D, E binding. Okay. Where is my trolley sleeves? Here they are. So you're going to find two 2-inch by 9.5-inch bindings. And all we're going to do is bind the top and the bottom of this. Just like we've been doing. We're going to hook it on, sew it, and bring it around, front and back. And I'm just going to stick like 3 pins in just to give me some stability. Looks like this might be a tad short at this end. It doesn't matter. Like I said, those 1.5 inch straps are going to go over these pockets halfway. So if I'm 3/4 of an inch, I have to worry. If I'm not, I don't sweat the small stuff. Okay, so let's put the other one on too while we're here. What do I do with it? Oh, there it is. This is a pretty easy pocket because all we're going to do is bind. And it will become a pocket in between the straps when we put the straps on. Okay. So let's sew these on and bring it around. Ouch. I like these pens, but they're so sharp. And again, if you want to sew off the end, it's not going to matter because this is all going to be finished on the edge with those straps. So there's not going to be any play on the ends of these. Okay. That's all that. Okay, so now I'm going to bring that around and sew the binding. Start up a little bit. Well, what are you doing? Whoops. Get over there. All right, now I'm going to sew the other binding. All right, so let's clip off some string. Clip them now. I don't have to clip them at the very end. Okay, so now we have the pocket, I think it's pocket, what is it? C. And so we're going to look for the binding for pocket C. And it should say 2 by 9.5. And we're just going to put that on the top. And bring it forward.
Is everybody keeping up?
Yeah, is everybody keeping up?
If they're
You're
trying.
probably better at this than I am, so you're probably ahead of me. Okay, we'll get this piece on.
I'm definitely not ahead of you.
Yeah, I fell off this week. I'm looking and watching now, and we'll go back later.
Well, you can, the pockets you could have jumped on, but that's all right. That's all right too.
Yeah, I'm having to play catch up too because I was out of town last week in the hospital with my daughter. And then this afternoon for lunch, I was making waffle fries with my potato slicer and I managed to cut the top of my finger off.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I got to take it easy. So there's not going to be a lot of sewing for me this week.
Oh no. Ow.
Yeah.
That had to hurt.
Well, I didn't say ow. I said a few other choice words.
Oh, I'll bet. And those things are so sharp. Like I said, pocket D is pretty simple because we're just going to bind this and then we're going to hook the trolley strap to it and it's good to go. So let's bind this.
What if you don't want trolley sleeve and you want a pocket instead.
You want to put another pocket on the front or on the back? You've got
Yeah.
a pocket. You've got one
I-
slip pocket.
I know, but what if you don't need the trolley
Yeah,
sleeve
you
part?
sure wouldn't have to add it on. I mean, it just, yeah, you wouldn't have to add it on. Or what you could do is you could just sew across the bottom of it and you got another pocket.
Okay, thank you.
That's what I would do. I mean, I wouldn't lose it as a pocket. You've already got it cut. I would just sew maybe twice across the bottom and call it another pocket because you have this slip pocket then and this slip pocket in the back.
Sounds great to me.
Yeah, that's probably a better idea because I can't imagine, I don't know. I don't know if a person would use that trolley sleeve as much as you would use a pocket. So that's good. That's a good idea. Yeah, all you'd have to do is do that before. So if anybody else would rather just have a pocket back there, you know, maybe you're not taking it on a cruise or a trip to Jamaica. I mean, there's so little traveling still going on. That, yeah, just sew across the bottom before we get to that next step. Okay. And now what we'll do is it says to mark a 1-inch line across the bottom. Or actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set my ruler there and I'm going to line my pocket up or my sleeve up. And then I'm just going to stick a pin in on both sides. And I stitch this down. I mean, I probably stitch way more than a lot of people, but I'm just going to stitch this down. And then it's hooked together. And she may say to do that. I don't know. It's been a while since I read her stuff. But
Would you add binding to the bottom part and then stitch it onto the bag to make it not a trolley?
well, you've got binding on the bottom.
No, the
this part's gonna-
bottom.
This part is going to go into your bag seam
Oh,
for
okay.
this pocket. So this is the only one you need binding on, and you already bound it when you did the trolley sleeve. So it's good to go. Yeah, but that's a really good idea. Because you don't have to make that decision now until we hook oh shoot, till we hook the pockets onto the bag. But now this is done. This is your back pocket, which is a slip pocket. Your straps are going to come down the side. This is going to be hooked in the bottom. And here's your trolley sleeve. But yeah, if you don't want that, sew a couple lines across the bottom and you have a really nice, you have another pocket back here. So that's a good idea. Okay, so we've got these pockets done, the side, and let's see, so where are we headed now? The zippered pocket and the front slip pocket. The front slip pocket is just the way it is. So we'll just set it over here. Are you guys still good? You want to keep going? We might as well make these last pockets really quick. Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. Keep going.
Okay. Because once we get these pockets done, then we can start assembling next week. All righty. So now we're going to put in a zipper. Let me find my other. I dropped it on my lap and then I picked them up. And where did I put them? That's not it.
Is it over there
Where? Did I put it over there?
behind the iron?
Oh, yes, here we go. Okay, so now we're gonna work with these. We're gonna work with the D border, the D pocket, and the short zipper. I'm gonna take this thingy off so I don't have to sew around it. Maybe I will. So first of all, we're just gonna hook our zipper. You can hook it to whichever one you want, but we're gonna hook it to one side and then the other. And we're gonna do this a little different because she doesn't finish the edge in there. And I don't like that it could ravel. So first we're gonna hook these on and then we're gonna finish the edges inside. So the one thing that you wanna do is you want to set it on here first, set it on your deal first, and you want to make sure that it zippers to the right. Unless you're left-handed, and then you might want to have it zipper to the left when you open it. I don't know. But most zippers open right to left or left to right, like this. You can do it however you want. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew this zipper on to this piece of fabric.
It's upside down.
Yeah, it's upside down because we're going to flip it up. So that's our mission now. I leave it open as long as I can. And again, I just pin it a couple of 3 times just because I don't know. Just to make Margie happy that I'm using her pins. Okay, so I'm just going to sew this on. I want to use my open toe foot because I'm going to try and sew it on about this line all the way down. Because 1/4 of an inch would leave a whole lot of zipper, I think. No, we'll just do 1/4 of an inch. We'll check that. If I don't like it, we'll come back. Okay. I gotta find my foot feet. There's nothing easier than these zippers because they're so wide. They're wonderful. And then when I get almost to the end, I'll put my foot down, raise it up a little, and then I just close my zipper. And now I sew the rest. All right, so that's going to leave me about that much zipper showing, and that's all right because it's a cool color and it's going to look good, and I'm going to top stitch it anyway with the black. All right, so now on the top side, we're going to sew this on, and I would top stitch this first, except that I want to be able to finish the edges. So let's go ahead and put this on. Actually, I want my zipper a little tighter. So I'm going to, 1/4 of an inch just isn't long enough or wide enough. Come on.
Well, that's the nice thing about the 1/4 inch. Then you
Right. Then you can go back and change it.
make
So
it tighter.
what I'm going to do is ride my foot right along the edge of that zipper. And I think I'll like that better. It's just a little more. It's not a lot. Let's open this all the way up. But it gives me a little more to top stitch. Whoops, I want it in a little bit. Okay, so I've got that on my bottom. Now I'm gonna put,
The difference.
see, and the difference will be when I top stitch, I'll have a little more room to top stitch. I'll have a little more fabric to catch back there, whereas I didn't have a whole lot before. Because I'm gonna top stitch this down. So now we're gonna hook this on, and again, we're gonna put the right side to the front. And we're just gonna sew. And I always sew on the zipper part. I don't know why, that's just the way I've always done it. But we're gonna sew a little ways, and then we're going to we're gonna move the zipper pull.
Is that the pocket D border that you're putting on?
Yes.
Okay.
And it goes on the top of the zipper. Yes. The pocket, yeah, the pocket D goes on the bottom of the zipper. The pocket D border goes on the bottom of the zipper. We moved over. Writing the zipper is not always easy for me. If I just take it slow, I do a lot better.
Is that the 10-inch zipper?
This is the 10-inch, yes. This is the smaller one. The 20-inch we're going to put on the pocket on the inside.
Okay, thank you.
And then the full one will go on the bag. Okay. So what I didn't like was it could start raveling. It could start raveling in here. So all I did was I just put it on my zigzag and I just zigzagged across here just to finish that edge. I did it on my, I've done it on, that way it's gonna stop this from, oh great, I have threads everywhere. It's gonna stop this from fraying as bad. I mean, you can go to all lengths if you want to do something, but I figured this was probably enough to at least stop. But this is where, when I looked in Rachel's bag, it was fraying, was on these zippers. And see how much nicer that is now? I mean, I know that's the inside and I know no one will ever see it. But now when I fold this down and press, there's no unfinished seam. And I do this with this one too, even though it's sewn to the, oh shoot. Even though it's sewn to the, or heated onto the fusible fleece, that fabric could still start fraying underneath there. And there's nothing quicker than running a zigzag. The worst thing is when I forget to put it back to my straight stitch when I get done. And I've done that many times. So let's turn that back right away. All right, so get rid of that string. So now I'm going to fold this down and I'm just going to top stitch this. And I'm just going to sew it across as I go.
If they can pin it.
Yeah, you can pin it. What?
Sorry, ladies, my daughter just walked in the door.
What?
My daughter just walked in. I'm sorry, I thought I was on mute.
That's all right.
Bobby, can you say something so that we get you
Yeah,
instead of
hear
her
me?
and her daughter?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I wanted
Okay.
to see you.
Okay, so now I'm going to top stitch this up. And I may press that a little because, I may pin that a little because it's a shorter piece and it just doesn't want to go up as easy. So if I stick a couple pins in it, it'll stay where I want it all the way. And then I'm going to stay stitch and see how this is just a little bit off at this end. It's not going to matter. It's just not going to matter. That could, we have so much strapping to go over that. So like I said, please don't sweat the small stuff. We'll, now I'm just top stitching this top. Holes in the way. And I'm going to go ahead and run, I'm going to get rid of some of all these hairs. But I'm going to go ahead and run a couple more across here. I just don't want my zipper to pull apart.
Across the end of the zipper.
Across the end of the zipper, yes. That would be a nightmare. Although we figured out. And then I'm going to do the same thing at this end. Oh, shoot, I may have put my zipper too far. Oh, no. Yay.
Don't put it too far.
Yeah, don't put it too far. And I'm going to do that same thing over here. So now we've got this piece and this has our pocket in it. And we're going to put it on top of this piece. And it should match up. On a good day, it should match up. If it doesn't match up, trim whatever you have to trim to make it match up. Okay, so what we're going to do is, and let's stick you don't have to stick a lot of pins in it. Let's stick a few pins in it around. See, it seems like it's long on that side. Look like that one corner is long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to catch it up here. I really like plastic zippers where you don't have to worry about your machine getting hurt. Okay, and then I'm going to take a little of that off. Okay, all right, so now it matches up a lot better. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to stick a pin maybe in all four corners. And we're just going to start somewhere and sew all the way around it. 1/8 of an inch. Just to catch it all together. Oops. I didn't do my needle down. Okay. Now and you can sew across the top because we're going to bind that next. on. All right. So now we're gonna put the binding on this. See, we already have our pocket. See, isn't that nice? Whoops, probably should take the pin out. But see, isn't that nice? We got a pocket and a zipper, and now we're just gonna put the binding on the top. And there should be a piece that's called D&E binding, because now this is called pocket D&E because it's a combo. So we're just gonna bind it just like we've done everything else. We're just gonna sew it on the back, bring it to the front. I think the pockets are kind of fun. And I also think they look more impressive than they are hard. And I always like things that look more impressive than they are hard. Because that's probably why I'm not a cook, because that's never true with cooking. Although I wish we lived in the city where there was more takeout options than we have. Okay, so I'm just going to sew my 1/4 of an inch across here, although I have my other foot on, but that's all right. It'll work. And just remember, you have even a little more to go around. Oh, where's my stiletto? Why are you doing that? Let's pull that out. That out. Okay, and let's bring it around and let's finish this pocket. Yay! All right, so our D&E pocket is done. We have a slip pocket, which is what this will be. And then we have a zipper pocket, which is what this will be. So we have, this is our front pocket. This will be our back. And these are our sides. Woohoo! That's awesome. Okay, so now we need to talk about pocket D. Whether you want to use fleece or if not fleece, jeepers creepers. Mesh, if you want to use, and we did this last time. Remember, we cut this pocket F, and then we just sewed. All you do is sew your fold over elastic on the top. Just kind of pull it as you go. So that pocket's already done. If you didn't do it, it's just a simple sew. It's just you start it at this end. I always pin it at this end, and then I just keep pulling it as I go and sew.
Would that be
know.
the same as if you use fabric?
Well, this is just the C. This is just the slip pocket. I guess it would be the same. Yeah. Yeah, if you want to use fabric instead of mesh. Yeah. Okay, so let me turn this iron off so I don't burn myself. So now if you want to do the fabric or the what pocket is that? pocket F. That is the zippered pocket. Yes, pocket F. So if you're going to do pocket F and you're going to do it in mesh, then I would just start, you just sew it across the top just like you do. But this time you're going to sew down on the front instead of how we sewed it back on the front or back on. Anyway, let's just start with the mesh. So you'll sew your top piece across the front like that. And then we're going to bring it up and you're going to stitch right along the edge of the zipper up here, which will catch all of the odd little pieces inside. And then you can stitch again just along the top or top stitch it. But you want to catch it twice. It's a little different than your cotton because you want to catch your mesh twice so that it doesn't unravel on you. And we can sure sew on this other piece if you want to do that. Should we do that?
Bobby, are you actually talking about pocket G?
Is it pocket G that has the?
Yeah, because you said pocket D, but we already finished that.
No.
then
Yeah,
you-
you're right. I'm talking about pocket G.
Because G
Oh,
uses a
George.
zipper.
G is in George, the inside pocket. Yeah, you're right. That's what I'm talking about. But you just, now I pinned this because mesh is so slippery. So I did pin as I sewed it, or for when I sewed it. If you want to go slow enough that you make sure it doesn't walk on you, that's okay too. But I pinned it across there. But this is how the mesh would look. So you are, well, we'll just sew it. So I'm just going to sew again, right along my teeth. I kind of ride my foot on the teeth, and that's how I know where I am.
Is this the one where you wanted to pull the elastic a little tight?
No, this is the one with the zipper.
Oh,
You can make it in mesh or cotton.
okay.
This is the mesh, and then we're going to do it in cotton. We're going to make it both ways so that everybody's covered. So first, we're just going to attach the mesh to the pocket. And this is the big piece now. Okay, we're gonna have to zip her up, I think. Oh, let's go a little further. Yeah, I don't, shoot. What happens when I talk? I don't know if anybody's doing this in mesh or just doing it in cotton, but this way they'll both be on there. So if you decide, some people really like mesh pockets, some people aren't real keen on them. The one slip pocket is supposed to be mesh, but again, it's your bag. If you don't want it to be mesh, it doesn't have to be mesh. It can be cotton. It can be a whole nother design. Okay, now when I get this, it's on. And mesh tends to like to get caught in the zippers, but it won't once we get it on because it. Okay, So now we have the mesh sewn on both sides. So what we'll do is we're going to take this mesh, I'm sorry, and we're going to sew right along the edge of the, or you can sew it either way, but we're going to sew, I guess first we'll sew this one. I've never used the mesh as the zipper pocket, but there's no reason you can't. I just always wondered how durable and how long lasting mesh is. Do you know, Margie?
I have no idea.
Me neither. I just don't. I would sure hate to have to replace a pocket in a bag. Would be my only fear. But I don't know, I guess.
She uses it extensively.
What?
She uses it a lot.
Yeah, she does. And I think her mesh is probably pretty durable.
So is this pocket on the inside of the bag? You don't see it at all from the outside?
That's correct.
And is that the zipper that has not been cut?
No, this is the 20 incher. This is the other half of that front zipper, except that
Okay.
I have it on my cloth. So I had to do a black one on this, but it should be, it's the other half of my green zipper that was on pocket DE.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. I just had already used that. Okay. Okay, so now we want to sew this one more time, and we're going to sew right along the edge of the zipper. And I should be able to go around the hole to do that. And she says that'll just keep the inside from fraying if you do that. Like I said, I've never done a lot with mesh except that slip pocket. Whoa, Nellie,
That didn't sound good.
no. Broke my thread. Boy, it's heck when you get old and you have trouble threading your needle. I have a needle threader on here, but it's worn out. Okay, just finished. Okay, so I'll show you this one side of it. So that's how it would look finished. Other side would be the same. So it's kind of like a meshy gathering. It's kind of like a meshy gathering along the zipper. And you can sure do your zipper in mesh. I mean, it's totally up to you. She gives you the dimensions to cut. So whatever you want to do. If you want to do it in cotton, then it's a little different. Then see how I finished the edge of this in cotton. And now I'm ready to iron it or press it down. Then I'll add my bottom to it because it's so much easier to just go in sequence. But this one I sewed on earlier. Now I'm just pressing that down. Oh, my hand. And I should be able to get around that zipper pull, I think. Oh, yeah.
So did you put interfacing in between those?
I did on this bag. I did not on Rachel's.
Okay.
I just want to see what it's going to be like. I may hate it, but I thought I'm going to try it on a bag and see what it's like. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it'll be good or bad. It's sure gonna add more weight. So in that sense, it's not good. But I wanted to see the difference of using interfacing and not using interfacing. It does not call for interfacing. It just calls for 2 pieces of fabric that you sew around the edge to bind them together. But I thought maybe it would give that pocket stability in there, but it may not too. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. So here's my bottom piece. I'm just gonna sew it on, flip it down, and this pocket's done. I mean, this pocket's ready to go on the inside then. But this is what I was using. And
So that's
be
the
honest,
same
I'm
as the one
really-
You did in mesh?
what?
Is that the same as the one you did in mesh?
Right, right.
Correct.
It's
Thank
just,
you.
this is the mesh one. This is the cotton one. And I'll be honest, I would not put interfacing in it. I don't like the feel of this. I don't know. I don't know. I just thought it might give it some strength, but I think it's gonna just be a mess when the interfacing starts to pull away. And it will. I mean, you know, fusible is not fusible forever. So I may end up, I have another half a yard of this. I may end up
Can you
changing this out.
quilt that?
Yeah, you could, especially if you're better at it than me. Yeah, but I don't know. And maybe I'll just finish this bag and see what it's like. And then I'll know whether I ever want to do it again. I don't know. What do you think, Margie?
I don't know.
Oh, jeepers.
I do
Did it
know it'll
ask-
pull away and it'll, what she says is it'll become cellulite.
Oh,
Get
it will?
pockets of- Because that fusible won't stay.
So don't use fusible in here. Margie says, she says it'll pull away and turn into cellulite, pockets of cellulite. So I'm going to redo mine. And I'm going to
Before you
redo
put
it
that
with just,
zipper in.
I'm going to redo it with just 2 pieces of zipper or
'Cause
2 pieces of fabric.
It didn't ask for stabilizing in it initially, right?
No, it did not. And I thought I'm going to try that. And now I know why it didn't. Because it's going to pull away. So, right,
Yeah,
it's
when
just
you,
2
when
pieces
you
of fabric.
actually, when you wash it, it will. Because I did ask that question of her last week. Because I remember her talking about not using fusible. That's why her stabilizer is not fusible. Is because when you wash it, it creates that.
Yeah.
So if you're not going to wash it, it's no big deal. But if you give it as a gift, you never know if they're going to wash it or not.
Right. And you sure don't want it to fall apart as much work as you're putting in on it. So 2 pieces of fabric, just sew around the edge of them because that'll help hold them together as you're adding your zipper. And then you just sew this zipper on the same way. Sew it on, fold it over, and top stitch it. And that pocket's done too. So I'm not going to sew that one on because I'm going to use different fabric. But yeah, you just sew it onto the edge again, like you did your zippers, and then fold it over and top stitch it down like I did this one. All right. And then all of our pockets are done. So now we're ready to put the bag together. So
Look how far you guys have come in 3 weeks.
yeah, we've gotten all the chores done, I guess you would say. So now it's just a matter of shaping it, putting it together. And when we shape it, you're going to need something like a saucer and a pop can. Something to round those edges. Or a bottle of, this would work good too. Just think about how big, the curve is supposed to be about 2.5 inches. So you can use a can. You know, you can use a can of veggies, but it's your bag. So whatever you want to use, you can use a bottle of pain reliever, you know. The biggest edge, you just find something that's a little bigger, like the top of this, that we're going to use to create that curve. If you have the circle thingies, they're great. The problem is there just aren't enough of them. I mean, they go every 1/4 inch, but sometimes you need something a little smaller. I don't even know where I got these. I know I didn't get them from Margie, but I think I've had them for years. I just had never opened the box. You guys don't have any of that, do you? Where you never open the box? Okay, so what do we want to do next week? Do we want to finish the bag?
Did you want to talk about your Saturdays?
Yeah, did you want to do a long sew on Saturday and finish the bag? Sunday, I have to work again. So it would be, I mean, I have to definitely, oh shoot, it's almost 5. I'm really sorry. I would have to be off at 4:30 to go to work. But, or do you need a week to catch up and then we sew again? But the bad thing is that's Mother's Day is 2 weeks from today. So
I'm good with Saturday.
I'm
Okay.
good with Saturday.
I'm good with Saturday.
What time would it
Okay.
be on Saturday?
well, what time do you guys want to do it? I'm flexible all day.
I work till noon, but I can
Okay.
go back and rewatch it too.
No, so if we start up at, didn't somebody say they couldn't be here till 3:30?
I have, it's my brother-in-law's birthday party. So
Okay.
it would be 3:30, your guys' time.
Okay,
Right? Yes,
okay.
because it's 5:30 my time. So I
Okay.
have, so I
So
can't
let's-
do it after
Let's start about,
3:30.
how about if we start about 12:30?
That works for me.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you be home from work in half an hour?
Oh, yeah, I'm only 5 minutes away.
Oh, okay. That'll give you time to get a bevy or something. And
Yeah.
so let's do that. And I would think if we started at 12:30, we should pretty well have it wrapped up by 3:30.
Yeah, because that would be 10:30 my time, so that works for me.
Does it? Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
So is it 12:30, what,
Central time.
Central.
Central on Saturday?
Yes.
Okay,
And we'll put out a notice along with the Zoom from today. But yeah, what we're doing now is we're just going to start piecing this together. And you need to decide if you want to put your little peggies in the bottom. It's up to you. If you're not going to use this like in an airport, you don't need those metal pegs in the bottom. You know, it's just to keep it up off the floor.
I want to
Was
use
the
them.
pegs part of the hardware kit?
Yeah, you should have gotten them, didn't you?
No, no.
Yes. Yep, we did.
Yes.
I did.
I did.
I might have forgot to put them in. there.
Margie said she might have forgot to put them in. We'll get them in the mail. I've got to go to the post office in the morning. I'll get them in the mail.
Margie, watch out for your feet and those pens.
I know, they're all over.
You need to
Well,
get a
this-
magnet stick.
I have 2 of them. I don't know. I just get up and I want to be done. I know. It's a bad habit. All righty,
So
so
will this complete the class then on Saturday, or will we need Sunday too?
well, let's see.
Okay,
I'm hoping we can complete it. I mean, we've got everything cut. We've got the pockets put together. It really flies from here on in, except the cutting. You know, you have to cut certain things, but that's not going to take us long either. It just flies from here on in. So we'll see. If we need Sunday, we'll do Sunday. I mean, we'll,
Or maybe the next Saturday.
Yeah.
Or we'll be camping on.
Mother's Day
Mother's Day
weekend. I don't know. We'll figure it all out by then. But I really think that in 3 hours we can accomplish. Because the pockets were a big thing. We made a lot of pockets today.
Virtually,
yeah,
some of us
Do not
still
put
have to
interfacing
cut.
in your pockets. That was a dumb idea. I don't know. Sometimes I just like to try new things and then halfway through it, I know it was the wrong idea.
Just
So-
quilt it. Just put lines down it. It'll stay together.
I think it'll still fall apart.
No. No, I've
It
done a lot of
should
bags
stay
that way.
put.
Well, I don't, if you were to quilt it some, it probably wouldn't fall apart.
No, I
Yeah.
think you need to quilt it.
Okay,
Yeah, quilt
we'll
it.
see. We'll
Mhm.
see. But anyway, so you're learning from all my mistakes. All right. And you do have your binding all sewn together, right?
Yes.
No,
Okay, so
So-
sew your bindings through.
that's
Oh,
what
if
I'm
you weren't here
wondering,
when we
Bobby.
cut last week, we cut the binding.
Have you done
Um,
a survey on where everybody's at? 'Cause some of us
No,
were
and we
on
need to do that.
vacation.
I'm gonna send that out tonight and see where everybody's at.
Okay,
And if we need to, but I'll tell you what, if you go out and watch her binding, you don't have to cut that huge, long strip of binding. She shows you how to fold it over and then cut it. Oh, man, it's so much easier.
yeah,
It was so much easier.
I went
I learned
through
so
the
much
other
from
week
her.
today. I did that
What?
today, but I did go through week 2 this morning. However, I have a quilt that's behind me and a scrapbook to finish for the Saturday birthday. So I'm trying to figure
Oh.
out how I'm gonna get everything sewn and done since I was on vacation last week. So I'm trying to prepare for that. But I did get most everything and I was hoping to have most everything cut, but that's a lot of work for me. But then again, I can go back and watch. It's no big deal.
Oh, well,
Because I can
I
see a lot of us
understand.
doing this virtually. I see a lot of us actually have been watching and not necessarily sewing with you. So I'm not sure where
that's
we're all
correct.
at.
That's what I've been doing.
That's what a lot of people have been telling us, is that they go back and sew off of the video. And the nice thing about that is you can sew and pause.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
you
And
bet.
this way we get a chance to ask questions instead of worrying,
And the good thing is, if you, whatever questions you're asking, somebody else is thinking. So it's good for the people that watch the video too. All righty, well,
Thank you for doing this class. Reading the instructions was kind of confusing.
I felt that way too. I'm more of a visual learner too. So I take them to work and I read through them, and then I know I have trouble too. And I think she writes good instructions, but they're just, sometimes it's hard to figure out what she's wanting you to do until you do it wrong. So, all righty. Well, we'll see you next Saturday.
Bye.
All right. Have a
Thank
good
you.
week.
thank you, bye.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
thanks. Bye.